Hey, welcome to the Huntsville Hustle Podcast, brought to you by our friends at Vandy's Heating and Air. We highlight the small businesses that are backbone of the Rocket City. Our guest today is Brad Robison. He is the owner of Teufel Hunden Customs, and he's out at Low Mill. So, Brad, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Joe.
Not gonna lie, man, I wasn't too sure how that word would come out of your business name. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I had to ramp up to that. You can't say it slow, so I had to get ready. So we're going to take it back, man. What got you into 3D printing?
Surprisingly, COVID did. You know, most people know I had the brewery back in the day, and at the time we couldn't do a whole lot of beer sales, run a whole lot of operations going on because of the limitation of how we could sell beer. I needed something to do. I was stuck at home with my toddler at the time, and we were both getting bored of each other. So I picked up 3D printing as kind of a hobby to get into, and just
Cool,
grew
man.
from
So,
there. Yeah.
yeah, so you started as a hobby, and then now it's a full-on business. How'd you make that transition?
So it's like how I started in the beer industry. I homebrewed, enjoyed doing it so much, and then just the entrepreneur mindset that I have, I was like, why don't I do this? Something I love doing as a passion and make some money out of it. Turn it into a business. So it's the same concept that I used with the brewery. And I see a lot of people needing things 3D printed. There's a lot of companies, especially locally, with all the industries we have around here, that have actually come to me and asked me to help prototype stuff or print something for them in a pinch or replacement part, a fix for an issue in their warehouse or something of the sort.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it's definitely a need out there, and people finally understand how it works and the need that they can fill. So, right there. So, in case people have not walked into your studio at Low Mill, what would they find when they walk in?
So you won't find what you typically find, right? We've all been to those markets, the festivals and stuff like that, and you see a lot of 3D printed things out there. You see the dragons and, the trendy stuff. Well, I don't like doing the trendy stuff. I like people to walk in and just be like, whoa, this isn't what I expected out of 3D printing. This isn't, what a lot of people actually call just junk. I'm doing a lot of big statues. I'm doing a lot of functional parts and pieces, like I said, for different industries around here. I've got a new client that's making 3D printed horseshoes, and I'm using a special rubber type material called TPU, and it's more therapeutic for the horse's feet rather than the old standard heavy metal horseshoes. And that's a good example. A lot of cosplay stuff, especially being in Low Mill. There's such a huge market up here for people like that. So I get a lot of people that come in and want cosplay commissions done, or they see some pop culture stuff going on like Fallout or the movie Alien, and doing the large statues of it. And here soon I'll do a little walk around and show you guys kind of what I'm talking about in here too. And you guys can see what I'm trying to focus on, trying to separate myself from your everyday 3D printing. Because although it's still a hobby for me, I don't want people to walk in and be like, he's just a hobbyist. I want them to be able to walk in and say, hey, this is some professional sculpture, this is professional work. This guy's actually doing CAD and designing stuff.
You got to walk in and see it for yourself. I mean, this stuff is huge. Number one, you think it's like little tiny little module? No, these are like life size stuff. I got to tell you, the Fallout one, I showed it to one of these kids I work with, the huge Fallout. He's like, all right, I'm going up there. He's got to go check it out for himself, man. He was very impressed.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you got to go up there. It's in Low Mill. Got to go check out the shop for yourself. But we'll get into a little bit more of that later. But I want to take it back. So Teufel Hunden, I feel like I should shout it every time. That's a pretty unforgettable name. Some people know the story about it, but tell us the story about why you chose it.
So Teufel Hunden, it's a nickname Germans gave the U.S. Marines during World War I in 1918. Russia had just left World War I, and it allowed Germany to push further into France. They were within 40 miles of France, about to occupy it, and the U.S. Marines showed up, greatly outnumbered. They fought in the trenches of Bellewood, France, under heavy machine gun fire, gas, all kinds of situations, the climate, the weather, all the stuff, but they weren't fearing hand-to-hand combat. The Germans gave them the name during that Battle of Bellewood because there was one part where they're having to fight uphill against the Germans. And the Marines were wearing gas masks. Their eyes were bloodshot from the gas. They were foaming at the mouth from wearing the gas mask and the gas and everything. And the Germans reportedly said that they looked like fighting hounds of hell coming up the hill on all fours, killing everything in their way. So it's a big shout out and a hat tip towards the Marines that were before me.
There you go. So I want to cover that. So you are a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine, right? So
Always.
what lesson from your military service still influence the way you run your business today?
So that's a really good question. I treat everything like it's a moving target, right? It's something I was taught in the core. It's just the foundation, and I have to give the core a lot of credit for developing me to who I am and having the discipline and the grit to be able to start something up, push through the obstacles, and get to the other end of it. Talking about like the dragons and stuff like that, I see that more as a distraction. If the target's too easy to hit, it's a distraction. And like I said, a lot of people are doing stuff like that. I want to separate myself from it. And that's something the military taught me is,
That's all right.
look for holes, look for things that you can do different. You want to stand out, especially being a Marine, because we all have an ego issue and we like to be a little bit different from everybody else. So naturally, I try and run my business the same way, bring in that discipline, bring in that grit, and then the commitment to my customers and my product.
There you go. So we have a mutual friend, Michael Cox, and he said he just figures things out, man. He just throws himself into it and he'll just figure it out. He said that's what he did with the brewery business. That's what he's doing with 3D. He just figures things out.
Yeah, like I said, it's business is a moving target. If you treat everything like a moving target, you won't fail. If you got to pivot, you pivot. Do what you got to do. Who's to say I won't ever 3D print little dragons or whatever it is that you see mainstream? If it comes down to it, and that's what I have to do, that's what I'll have to do at the end of the day.
There you go. That's true entrepreneurship right there. You got to do what you got to do. Keep the coffers filled, right? So, yeah, we talked about the brewery business. That chapter closed, and you basically had to start a new business from the ground up. Was that better because you could do it how you wanted to, or was it kind of a nightmare?
So the brewing business, I did that for 12 years. And then when I finally was fortunate to start my own, I still had business partners. So I couldn't operate it completely how I wanted to. I had some production side of things control. My partners handled everything else. But being in like a brewery and having a tasting room, a tap room, stuff like that, it's all one big unit. It's hard to separate the two. Being in 3D printing and starting another business, I'm in full control of all the operations, full control of production, and that's a very crucial aspect to it. I get to decide where profits go. I get to decide what new machines I get. I get to decide what jobs I want to take or turn down. Going back to controlling the production of things, I think it's pretty big, and I think a lot of industries and businesses don't get enough credit to their blue-collar producers. They should be able to have a say in how things are controlled, how things are developed, because they're in the trenches. Well, now working for myself completely 100%, working next to my wife, who actually helps me paint some of the stuff because I can't paint. It's been really nice. It's been very relieving because I see what I'm making and I see how well it's working for my clientele that's coming in here. And I've already developed a following of quite a few customers. They come in weekly just to see what new stuff I have, whether it's a custom made keychain, targeted for Huntsville, or if I have a new statue, they want to come in, they want to see it, take pictures of it, get a picture with it, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like I said, you got to go and see the stuff for yourself. That's why people keep coming back to check it out. And you mentioned it, you're not doing mass produced products. These are custom pieces you're making for folks out here. What do you enjoy most about those, just completely unique to that person? Why do you make about that process? What's the best part?
Honestly, I think it's the shock and awe that people give me when they see something. They'll come to me with an idea and say, "Hey, I'm Orion," example. They came to me a few months ago and said, "Hey, we got Rod Stewart coming in being the opening act for Orion this year." Well, Rod Stewart has a 1,600 square foot train collection back in the UK, and they said, "We would really like a model of the Orion Amphitheater made on an HO scale for his train set." All right. Took me 2 months to design this, get it printed. I went through all kinds of stuff, but it taught me a lot. It taught me how to do more accurate measurements, how to read blueprints. I've never had to read blueprints in my life. And I actually got to read some blueprints of Orion Amphitheater to kind of design this exactly how it needed to be. I've partnered with another organization called Make Good recently, and we're making mobility wheelchairs for young children who have mobility issues. It's all donated. I can get people to sponsor kits for the hardware, like the wheels, some casters, stuff like that. But when it comes down to actually making 95% of the unit, I'm printing it on my printers, and I'm doing the cost of the material wise as my contribution.
That's crazy. You just 1 minute you're brewing beer, next thing you're making Rod Stewart Orion models. It's a wild world you were living in here, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. I had Creed recently, and being such a huge Creed fan, it was awesome. I get to mix up for rock stars all the time. It's pretty dang cool, man.
Yeah, tell them about what you made for Creed, man. That's a really awesome story.
Yeah, so Creed, and I just learned this, and I'm kind of embarrassed because I'm such a huge Creed fan, is that Scott Stapp's grandfather played on the 1935 team with Paul Bear Bryant, was roommates with Paul Bear Bryant, and then continued after college to coach underneath Paul Bear Bryant for football and track. And his father, Scott Stapp's father, played baseball, football, and track at University of Alabama. So lead singer Creed has a pretty good tie-in with the state of Alabama. So Orion came to me, found some old pictures, some archives of Scott Stapp's grandfather with a team photo with Paul Bear Bryant. So I was able to produce this into a light box. So got a nice image put on this, had it backlit, all black and white, and just beautiful. The flyer from the same game when they played against Stanford, I was able to make a beautiful light box out of that, the image from the flyer. And then it was handed to Creed the day they came into town for their show a couple of weeks ago. And apparently Scott Stapp really enjoyed it.
Very cool, man. Yeah, who knew? That guy's out there. I didn't know that. I didn't know that either till you told me about that. I had no idea. Like,
it's wild.
And word on the street, man. Scott Stapp, he can play some basketball too. He can hoop. Word on the street. So the athletic is still in his genes, man. So yeah, that's just what I read about that. So if people haven't been to Low Mill, I mean, if you haven't, I don't know why you haven't been out there yet, but it's a super unique place. Why was that the right home for your business?
So I had been working in my garage for about a year and a half, and running out of room big time. I'm running 13 printers now, and some of them are pretty big footprint printers. Working out of the garage was nice because I could just go in, get some coffee, head right out to the shop, right? But growing pains happen with any business, right? And everything's a moving target. Well, my wife is a fine artist, and she wanted to get into Low Mill and had been trying for a long time. So we both put in a joint application, said what she did, said what I do, and it probably took about 2 weeks for them to respond back and say that we were juried in. So Low Mill isn't just a place that you can apply to and they say, oh, cool, yeah, come on in here. You actually get in front of a juried panel that evaluates your portfolio, your work, and what kind of potential you would have to benefit the mill. Low Mill is the largest arts and entertainment facility in the United States. A lot of people have moved here from all over the country just to be able to have a studio here in Low Mill, and I felt that carried some weight to it, and I wanted to be a part of that. So put in a lot of work, submitted my portfolio, and so within 2 weeks we got accepted, and we didn't hesitate. We came in, put down our deposit, and we started moving in, making a good business out of this. There's so many people interested in 3D printing these days, and you'll see some other studios up here at Low Mill doing some 3D printing, but that's not what their focus is, right? So I separate myself a lot from them by being a primary focus for 3D printing. And now I'm selling 3D printing materials, so the filament and stuff like that. I've recently partnered with Bamboo Lab, which is one of the largest 3D printing companies out in the market right now. Became an authorized dealer for them. There's only 2 of us in the state of Alabama. Sure, everybody knows who the other one is, Gigaparts, which is where I would always go to get my supply if I need something in a pinch. But now it's nice having that direct stream of materials to me if I need it.
Very cool. I had no idea there's a jury process to get in there, man. That's information.
Yeah, it is. It can be cutthroat. It's kind of intimidating. You know, I come up here and I still walk through the hallways and I see what some of the other artists are doing, and then I'll go back to my studio and I'm like, man, I'm just 3D printing stuff. You know, these guys are drawing stuff and painting stuff and making sculptures out of, recyclables, and that's how awesome Low Mill really is. And I just felt like I needed to be a part of that community. It's given me the opportunity to polish up my work a lot too, just because I do have people coming in, versus nobody's coming to my house and going in my garage, so I wasn't getting a whole lot of foot traffic versus I come up here and, like I said earlier, the shock and awe, people get. You get adults, you get kids that come in here and they see life size R2D2 3D printed. And everybody's just amazed by it. And they ask questions. They want to know more about it, how I did it, how I sculpt things. So I think Low Mill was just an awesome spot to be able to do that due to the community that exists here and the community of foot traffic that comes through here. It's expressing more artwork, especially being a veteran. I get a lot of other veterans that come up here, and it kind of makes them feel welcome because there's a lot of veteran artists in the area who don't have the opportunity to be in Low Mill or even know they can be in Low Mill, or they're scared of it because it's juried. So it's nice to be able to inspire them some, give them a little bit of motivation, and talk to them about the process of getting into Low Mill and talking about how art has helped them as well as how art has helped me. I look back at the brewing days, and brewing is art, science, and math. All three of those are tied in together to create a product. And that's just how my mindset's always been. It's given me a good outlet to be able to express myself, to connect with fellow veterans, talk about traumas, talk about our experiences in the wars or in the military. And it's been very, very helpful. And Low Mill is just such an inviting place for something like that.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. It makes you pick your game up too. You can't be slacking when you're living in a Low Mill, right?
No.
Yeah. So if you're listening right now, I encourage you just go walk around Low Mill sometime. Just check out. There's so many amazing things. Like I hadn't been there in a while, like probably a little over a year. I went over there, walked around not too long ago. Blown away, man. There's always something cool going on there. Go check it out. It's really a treasure we have here in town. So you kind of mentioned people have questions, like how does this work? So I also have questions. So someone comes to you, they have an idea. How does that start and become the finished product? How does that process look like?
So like I said, I've been working in the garage, and that was like one thing. I had a few businesses around here that knew I was doing that, and I built a 12-foot 3D printed guitar in my garage in December. How I did that, I still don't know. With having motorcycles and kids stuff and everything in the garage, I look back at it and it was a miracle that I was able to pull that off. But now that I'm in here, I get a lot of people that come in here and want commissions. The idea to the finished product, I've had to create my own SOPs for, because I've done a lot of commissions in the past, but I'm not used to people walking in and saying, "Hey, I have this idea, I have this concept. Here's a model of something. Can you 3D print this for me?" So I've had to develop my own SOPs to where I can handle that kind of stuff. And it's pretty much as easy as just saying, "Here's my business card, email me." I get so many people that want to come here on the spot and just be like, "Hey, I have this wonderful idea," but they don't know how big they want it. They want to know how much it's going to cost. They want to know how long it's going to take. Some people expect me to print something out the next day for them, for $20, and it's going to be quoted at $150. So it's been hard, and it's another one of those moving targets where I've had to kind of go with the flow of things, who are they adapt to, figure out what my margin can be without deterring people from wanting something done. But at the same time, still making sure that I'm keeping my lights on and I'm making some profit as well.
There you go. Back to your military training. You got to have the SOP. Got to have that SOP, right?
Exactly. There's so much to calculate. And I mean, that's what the SOPs has helped me do, is calculate the time, the cost, the materials, and then giving people a realistic timeline of when something can actually be done. Like I said, I've got 13 printers. I need another 13 more printers just to be able to keep up with my demand right now. I'm backlogged probably 45 days on getting some things done right now.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got
awesome,
clients I've got clients in New York. They're doing things for board games. I've got clients in Texas. I've got clients all around here, businesses. So business is good. But like I said, it's just developing those SOPs and being able to understand and being able to work with some of these people, because I get companies and I get your everyday foot traffic that comes in here.
Sure. And not everyone knows how this works. So you got to have
exactly.
Let me tell you how this works, because this is new to you, right? So it's not like you're just going to, just plug it in. It just spits it right out, right?
Yeah. Like I said, people will just come in here and they'll have an idea. Everybody has ideas, but how are we going to make this a reality? You got to give me some time in CAD design. You got to let me design all of this. Sometimes people will come in here with something already made, and I have a scanner that'll allow me to scan it and render it into a 3D model and make it for them. But a lot of times people come in with just an idea. I had one recently. A guy's father was a magician, a rocket scientist, and what else was he? There's something else. But anyways, he wanted me to create a base with a half globe And then he wanted me to put Saturn V on there, Hubble Space Telescope, a bust of his dad on there with a magician hat and a guinea pig on his shoulder because he used to use a guinea pig with his magic tricks. And he's telling me all this stuff, and we're going back and forth on email. And I'm like, I'm trying to get all this. He drew me some pictures, some mock-ups. And I'm like, okay, how do I turn this into a model now? So I'd spend probably 2 weeks in CAD software designing all this before I could realistically say, okay, this is how long it's going to take. Here's a concept of it. And this is how much it's going to cost.
That sounds like he's really just trying to challenge your skills right there, man. He's like, hey, let me throw everything at you and see how you handle it. That's a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, he actually said that in an email. He's like, I see you're a professional, so I think you can handle this. Here's a whole bunch of ideas. See what you can come up with. And I mean, I pulled it off, and I pulled it off about 2 weeks ahead of deadline for him. So
Nice.
he was happy. I was happy, and it taught me a lot. It's another
awesome,
moving
man.
target. Those moving targets can teach you a lot.
For sure. Yeah. So on the other side, you teach 3D printing classes. How'd you go from like, instead of just creating, I'm going to start teaching other folks how to do this?
I love teaching. It's almost a hobby to me. Having 5 kids in a blended family, I'm always teaching them, mentoring them. They always want to help with 3D printing. They're fascinated by it. They're all young kids. I get so many people that come in here, especially when they want a quote for something done. They're like, hey, I just want the statue or something made, or I'm going to want a line of these statues, and sometimes I'll tell them like, it's better for you to buy your own printer if you're going to keep doing this kind of stuff, and then come in here and I will show you how to use it. I will teach you how to set it up. I'll teach you how to use it. This summer I did a lot of 3D printing classes, and they were targeted a lot for kids just because of summer break. It gave these kids an opportunity to learn something, some technology, how to design some things, and it gave them something to do while their parents had to work or something like that because of summer break. Teaching has been a passion for me. I taught at Calhoun back in the day, teaching brewing. Unfortunately, Calhoun already has somebody teaching 3D printing, so I wasn't able to get that spot. But overall, I mean, just the teaching aspect of it it's great, especially with the kids because they're so amazed by everything. And they're all so used to seeing, the little knickknacks that you see at trade shows and events and festivals and stuff like that. And they've never understood that you can design your own thing, and when you start teaching kids of a certain age that are in a certain grade and they know some basic math, they know the difference between 2D and 3D concepts. They know what the measurements are for 3D. And if they don't, then I'm able to teach them that kind of stuff. When they're able to go back to their parents and say, hey, I learned this today. And it triggers something in the back of their parents' head. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember that from 30 years ago when I was in school. It's rewarding when the parents come in here and then they want to follow up with questions. And then the parents ask if I have a class coming up for them as well. So it tells me I'm doing something right. Everybody's reporting back that it's great. So, and it's such a new thing. Like you said, 3D printing, it's been around for a long time, but on a daily use for somebody like you and I, technology didn't really get there until about 10 years ago, when you start seeing a lot of mass produced. But then the technology keeps evolving, and you've got 3D printers now that are light years ahead of how they were 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And they're continuing to advance more and more and more.
Yeah. No telling where we're headed, man. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool business to be in right now, I'm sure.
It is. Like I said, especially if you do, the right thing, you separate yourself from other people, other printers, your competition, if you will. I wanted to be different. I wanted to be able to do sculptures, large stuff, the functional parts, and then get clients that are like, hey, I'm developing this game up here in New York. Will you prototype me some parts for it and stuff like that? It's a cool feeling, the rock stars.
Yeah. A little something different every day, man. That's a cool way to show up and work something different every day.
Exactly.
We're going to switch it up a little bit, man. We're going to do the lightning round. This is for our friends at Huntsville Hub. That's our Huntsville's co-working spot. If you don't want to work in your garage and you're not 3D printing, maybe you don't want to skip the kitchen table, you don't want to go to the noisy coffee shop, you can go over there. They got everything you need. You can book a tour on huntsvillehub.com. Mention the Huntsville Hustle Podcast. Get a free day pass. See if you like it. So, man, what's the current project you're working on?
So a big current project I'm working on is the wheelchairs. And I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of something here. I'm going to move my camera a little bit.
Okay.
So I've got something printing right there right now. It doesn't look like much because it's still starting. But I'll make sure Joe gets it out there and shows a picture of it soon. They're going to be little busts of Joe from his LinkedIn picture. And they say Huntsville Hustle.
I've made it, Mama. Mama, I made it. I got a little tiny bust of myself.
Yep, you're going to have a tiny
yes,
bust of
sir.
yourself.
I can't wait.
So I hope you like your LinkedIn picture.
Yeah, I didn't know what it is. So I bet I do. So, yeah. But that's a weird spot, man. If you don't go on LinkedIn, it's a weird place. I don't know if you guys have gone there. It's kind of weird over there. But what's your favorite thing about Low Mill?
The freedom. It's an art facility, right? And everybody knows how the arts can be. You express yourself, right? And I'm allowed to express myself however I want up here. I don't go on a far end of anything. I don't do anything political or anything like that. But I do what I want to do. And no matter what, every day that we're open, I get at least half the people that walk in here and they're shocked and awed and appreciative of some of the things I've done. Because they're looking at an art from an art perspective, and they're not treating it like it's just one of those markets where you go out there and you find some of the 3D printed, mass produced stuff, right? It's a different vibe that you get.
Yeah, that's why I encourage people to walk in there. Just walk into a shop, see what's going on. You'll feel it right when you walk in there. I know I did when I walked in there, and the kid I was with, same thing. And he was blown away. So, what's your favorite Huntsville restaurant?
Ooh. I gotta go with Nick's.
Man,
Nick's Restaurante.
Nick's.
Yeah.
Get you a steak over Nick's. Yeah.
Oh yes, it's just if whether you're going there for a steak or getting a drink, I mean their bartenders are excellent. Cigar lounge, it's a great place, and it's right up the road from me, surprisingly. So I'm there quite a bit.
There you go. All right, man. As a Marine, I got to ask you, what's your favorite flavor of crayon?
Green.
People love green, man. What is it about green? They love the green.
It's lower on cholesterol.
It's good for you. The green was good for you. So
yeah.
So if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
Oh, man, that's a hard question. If I weren't doing this, I'd probably be looking at a way to get into this. Like I said, brewing, that hat's down. I did my tour with that, just like I did my tour with the military. I guess if I had to pick something else, I would go into the teaching side of it. Just because I enjoy this industry so much, and I enjoy teaching so much. So if I can get the best of both worlds, why not?
Yeah. Well, you don't need a plan B if you're already plan A is working out. Why
exactly,
folks? So then, kind of in that same lane, what's next for you? Where are we headed with this thing?
So something I've been working on that's under wraps is a Patreon. There's a lot of 3D designers and printers that have created their own Patreons. So you can get on there, you can see some of their work, you can support them as an artist. Something I'm coming up with is it's going to be heavily military themed, heavily Marine Corps themed. And I'm creating my own files, doing my own CAD designs for things like this. It's my devil dog. That's my mascot, my Teufel Hunden. And I'm able to put blogs on there and stories on there and let me explain why this is important to me, why I designed it and the meaning behind it. Something like that. The Hellkeeper for the devil dog. And then, like I said, one of the biggest things I've been getting into is making these wheelchairs for children. If there's some way I can give back, I want to do it, especially for children in our area. I think right now there's probably 20 kids in North Alabama that are seeking one of these mobility wheelchairs for their kids. And I'm making one for a young girl now that lives out in the Florence area. And it's super rewarding knowing I'm coming in every day. I can 3D print stuff I want. I can 3D print stuff for the shop. I can 3D print stuff for the mill. I've made stuff for the mill. I can make stuff for rock stars. But getting that warm, fuzzy feeling that I'm using my powers for good and making something that can help somebody out in life, especially a child, it's fulfilling.
That's it. You look for the win-win, right? Make a dollar, make a difference, keep it moving, man. I love it.
Exactly. I like that.
Yeah. So I know people are saying, I know we're Low Mill. Where can I find you in Low Mill?
So we are in Studio 316. We're up on the third floor of Low Mill. The third floor gets overlooked a little bit just because of how big the facility is, right? You got all that big first floor, all that big second floor, and then only half the building is third floor. I get people walking here all the time. It's like, I've just never been up here, and I've been coming to Low Mill for 2 years. But they're word of mouth. Now they're going out and they're telling their friends. I have people coming here like, my buddy told me that you made this. I want to come here and see if you can do this for me. And they're bringing their friends in here, and everybody's just amazed by it. We were fortunate enough to get a good studio space here on third floor. or I have windows on both sides. So I always get the window stickers where people are just stuck to the window looking in and just amazed by everything that I'm doing. They want to come in and talk. There's no real defined way of telling you how to get to my studio except following the maps. But when you do find the studio, you're going to be amazed by how different what I'm doing is from the other artists here. I've gotten a lot of the artists here that actually support what I'm doing, and they're behind it and come to me for ideas or want to collaborate.
Yeah, it's a big space too. Once you find it, you found it. You'll know when you find it.
Yeah,
it's a good space.
It's a big
like I said,
space.
double windows, big wide open space. You can go in there. Don't skimp on the third floor. Okay, a lot of cool stuff on the third floor. So how about your social media? Hit us with your social medias.
Oh yeah, so I just started a website a few weeks ago. I'm trying to get that tightened up a little bit more. www.teufelhunden.com or teufelhundencustoms.com. You can find me on Instagram at Teufel Hunden Customs. You can find me on Facebook, Teufel Hunden Customs.
There you go. We'll link all that in show notes in case you can't spell that stuff. I know I couldn't, so we can just click on stuff in there. So before we go, I'd like to ask you, how can our podcast community help you?
Come check me out. I mean, that is the best way to help me out. Come check me out. I'm just a local veteran-owned business, just trying to make a footprint. Just your support, even coming in and just taking a glance at what I've got. That supports me a lot because that lets me know that people are continuously interested. If you don't like something that you see, tell me that too. That helps me. Any kind of feedback is good feedback.
There you go. He's a Marine. He's got thick skin. He can handle it. So check him out. Check out their social media. Check out the giant cowboy hats he's making. He's doing all kind of stuff, man. It's definitely worth a follow there on social media. And you got to go in the shop and see it for yourself, man. Thanks for coming on and tell us your story, man.
Hey, no, I appreciate you having me, man. I really do.
Absolutely.
It means a lot with my small business.
Hey, that's what we're trying to do here. At small business, we don't want to get people lost in the shuffle. Huntsville's getting bigger, but we got to support our local small businesses first. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks for our sponsors, Vandy's Heating and Air, Homely Huntsville Newsletter, Huntsville Hub, and the website Building Geniuses and Milk Williams Marketing. Robo, appreciate you coming on, man, telling your story. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep giving back. Go check out a shop at Low Mill. We'll see you guys next week on the Huntsville Hustle Podcast.